Hi, I'm Morgan, the oldest of the Wild brothers. When I was 6 years old, my dad brought my mom, my brothers, and myself to live in the jungles of Papua, Indonesia, with a vision to see the gospel brought to an isolated people group. And by God's grace, that's just what we did. And so, this is where my brothers and I have grown up as MKs, or missionary kids. We've learned to speak the language and become part of the Wano tribe. My dad, along with his partner, Uncle Tim, created a literacy course and taught the Wano people how to read and write in their own language. In 2010, we began teaching from the Bible, starting in Genesis. The first 11 chapters of this book of the Bible are foundational to a proper understanding of God and the history of the world and the universe. In chapters 1 through 3, we find the truths about creation, how the Creator God brought everything into existence, and corruption, the entrance of sin into the world, which is why my family came to such an isolated area in the first place, to share the gospel with lost people. After teaching in Genesis, we taught key accounts from other books in the Old Testament, and into the life of Christ. The gospel is a powerful message that began to change hearts among the Wano people, and soon the first Wano church was born. That was 5 years ago. Since then, my dad and Uncle Tim have been busy translating the Bible and making disciples of the Wano Christians. My brothers and I are now a lot older. We've grown up in the jungle, been brought up among the Wano people, and we've taken on a lot of their tribal ways, but we're basically just your average crew of brothers. Let me introduce you to my family. First off, there's my brother Hudson. He is the second oldest, and he's also the bird specialist of the family.
I like being outdoors. Thankfully, we live right smack in the middle of the jungle. Right now, I'm doing a research project on trying to identify all the birds we have up here in Mokondoma. I've collected over 100 specimens, and right now I'm in the process of preserving them so I can send them to a museum. It's enjoyable to get away from the house and my crazy brothers for a few minutes out into the peaceful jungle, fresh air, and look at this place. Why would I stay inside when I could be out in the jungle?
Next in line is my brother Kian. He is the third oldest and the jolliest.
My family's told me I'm the jolliest of the bunch.
Kian has been keeping us laughing ever since he was a toddler, sitting in his high chair, flinging spaghetti all over us.
My brothers and I are always joking around, having fun. Sometimes I find it hard to be serious.
He loves to paint, write, and always seems to catch the best butterflies.
I mean, this place needs some fun every once in a while.
And last but not least, our youngest brother, Asher.
I'm Asher. I may be the youngest brother, but I can hold my own. I respect my older brothers. We're a pretty good team. But sometimes the little bro has to show him who's boss, keep him in line. You younger brothers out there know what I mean.
Somehow we put up with him. And then, of course, there are my parents.
Mike and I have a daily routine of drinking coffee together. It's much more about the time spent together than it is about the coffee. But it gives us a chance just to touch base with one another, make plans together, talk about the future. Yeah, it's become a tradition.
Our mom and dad are pretty awesome. We respect and love them.
Libby and I have been married 18 and a half years, and we're best friends. We've had a lot of adventures together. Had some good times, had some hard times. Had some kids along the way.
Yeah, 4 boys. Maybe that contributed some gray to that beard.
So yeah, I would have never imagined that we would raise our family in the middle of the jungle.
A lot of people look at our parents and say, man, that guy has one young wife. Like dad, robbed the cradle or something.
But actually, Mom's a year and a half older than Dad.
Looks to be deceiving.
Then, there's me. Like I said, I'm Morgan, the oldest and obviously best looking of the Wild brothers.
Yeah, right. I mean, obviously it's me, right? Right, guys?
And for me, it's a full-time job. Being the oldest brother requires a lot of responsibilities, but it's fine. When my parents were my age, they never imagined that one day they'd be living in the world's largest archipelago. We live in Indonesia's easternmost province, Papua. It is rich in culture, languages, natural resources, and breathtaking scenery. The seas around Papua are some of the richest in the world. Beautiful coastlines and coral reefs turn into windy mangrove passages that lead into the lowland swamps. The lowlands are sweltering, the home to crocodiles and hordes of mosquitoes, and hundreds of murky rivers snake their way through the lush foliage. Then, further interior, the low, rugged mountains contain thousands of waterfalls and meandering rivers, most never explored and only known by the Creator. The low mountains then quickly turn into the steep, nearly impenetrable highland mountains. Some of these lush mountain ranges nearly reach up to the heavens, and this is where we live, among the Wano people. For us, Papua is an amazing place to call home. And how we picked our house site and built our house, that's another story. We used to live 2,000 feet down the mountain in a hamlet called Kiririmo. And that's where my dad and Uncle Tim presented the gospel to the Wano people for the first time. We in the Wano church decided that we'd move up to this place. For 9 years, we've had to depend on the helicopter to bring in our supplies and get us in and out of the tribe and for medical emergencies. And we saw that having an airstrip would be extremely beneficial for the Wanos to have their own airstrip, their own bush airstrip that planes could land and take off on. And so for that reason, we moved up to Karamu to build an airstrip. Our plan was, step 1, build a house.
Building a house out here in the jungles of Papua is a lot of work.
These trees are huge. When they fall, they take half the jungle with them.
Now the chainsaw that we use out here is not like the little pitiful things you buy back in the States at Walmart. Man, the ones we use over here have a 3-foot bar on them. They're beasts, but that's what it takes to cut down the trees that are out here. And once we cut them down, we slab them, let it dry, and that's what we use to build the house with.
Just from felling a tree and carrying up one board was a tremendous amount of work. We would hike down, Hudson and I and all our friends, and throw a couple boards on our shoulders and then get back up to the house, and it would probably take half an hour. So it took a lot of time just getting each individual board up. And you need hundreds of boards to build a house, so it was quite the project.
Asher, are you okay, Asher?
The boards were freshly cut, so they were very damp and heavy.
Next came the foundation. 70 ironwood pillars were the foundation of our house. We wanted to make sure it was built on a really firm foundation and make sure it wasn't going anywhere.
We used only hand tools to build our house, such as saws, hammers, chisels, etc.
No two boards were alike.
Our family had to work together as a team. Putting down the floor was pretty much the hardest part of the house, just because you had to get everything even, so that was a pretty big challenge, but once we got it over with, it was the fun part.
Yeah, it was definitely hard. Probably one of the most difficult things we've ever done, physically, in our short lives.
Building our house here up in Mokondoma was a whole family affair, and it literally took all of us. All of us had to work together as a team to get the house constructed. We all had to bring up planks from the jungle. We all worked together to nail it down, make the foundation, put up the walls, and our Wano friends helped us put the planks on and get the roof on. And boy, we were glad to have it done. This is the third house we've had to build out here among the Wano people, and I'm hoping it's the last one.
For us, it was one victorious day, standing beside our completed house. Our finished house is something that we were all proud of. It may have a few holes and leaks, but it's home for us. Now, we are not the only light-skinned people to be living on this mountain. The Ingalls family also live with us here. Uncle Tim, Aunt Rebecca, and their 2 girls, Lily and Eva, have been with us since the beginning, working alongside us to see the church come to maturity among the Wano people.
Uncle Tim and my dad worked together on translation and teaching here in the village.
Uncle Tim and Aunt Rebecca aren't really our aunt and uncle. We just call them that.
We call other missioners our aunts and uncles.
But we're not really related. It's just missionary kid culture.
With all the work to be done here, we're thankful to have good friends to help share the load.
We're big pet people. We really like the animals.
Growing up, I had cats,
Fish, cats,
parrots,
dogs, frogs,
parakeets,
toads, insects,
hamsters,
birds,
a python,
snakes,
a rabbit,
Boston Terriers,
hermit crabs,
salamanders, turtles, and everything else I could catch.
It's a pretty foggy morning out. I'm out to go over and get Newt from her cage.
Living in the jungle has given the boys an opportunity to have a strange variety of pets over the years.
Newt's cage is right over here.
Newt is a common spotted couscous.
This is Newt.
Newt's mother was killed by hunters, so we took her in.
When we first got her, she was pretty small and scraggly, but once we started taking care of her every day, she fattened up. Newt's a real mellow pet. We really enjoy her. Hey, Newt. How are you this morning?
Newt is really one of my favorite pets that we've ever had.
You hungry?
Hey, Ashley, why don't you go get her some breakfast?
Okay.
She's such a sweet, sweet animal.
I'm making Newt some oatmeal. She really likes that. Newt loves oatmeal. We think she gets it after Morgan, because Morgan just loves oatmeal. That's what he always eats. Hey, Newt, come on. Newt. Newt's a really messy eater. Whenever she eats, she smacks really loud.
Yeah, sometimes it gets kind of annoying because she's just like flinging food everywhere and just smacking and
But we still love her.
This is our brainless cassowary, KFC.
KFC is a northern cassowary. Like Newt, her parents were killed.
We were all trying to figure out a name for our cassowary, and Dad came up with KFC. It stands for Kentucky Fried Cassowary.
Yeah, she's pretty crazy. She's more dog than she is bird.
KFC is our faithful hunting cassowary.
KFC is basically Garfield's Odie. Just brainless, follows us around, makes a lot of noise, bumping into things.
We thought taking KFC and Newt on as our pets was responsible stewardship of God's creation.
This is a cassowary right here. It's pretty awesome. It's just like gigantic. Imagine the omelet you can make out of this thing. It takes a pretty big bird to lay something like this.
Our cat is a truly noble beast. He's crafty, but very paranoid of everything.
A lot of times our cat jumps up on the couch and looks out the window, and whenever he sees strangers, he has this really weird growl. It's like a dog. He like, and growls, and then he jumps off and goes and eats more kibble, and then he lays down and sleeps or something. I found out early on, if you mess with the poos, you get the claw.
Colby belongs to Pooh, and he accompanies us on a lot of our adventures.
Colby's the perfect travel dog. He's small and faithful, a great hunter, and he's as tough as any other dog twice his size. You'll often find him hanging out on our front porch, and he always lets us know when strangers approach. We may be far from towns and modern civilization, but we are far from being alone. We live among the Wano people group, and many of them have become our closest friends and family. Pooh is one of our best friends and has become like one of our brothers. He's our mentor in the ways of the jungle, you might say.
Pooh's my other little brother. His house is right next to ours, so we hang out a lot.
He lives a few feet away from our house, with his mom and grandmother. He's taught us the names and characteristics of all the jungle animals, where they live and how to call them. He has also taught us traditional ways to make different kinds of snares and traps. We've had many amazing adventures together. He had 3 siblings, but they died, along with his father, who died a couple of years ago. One huge aspect of our ministry is medical.
The Wano people live very difficult lives, and sickness and death is a part of everyday life.
My parents, along with Uncle Tim and Aunt Rebecca, have always done medical work here for the Wano. And now we have trained Wano people to take over the medical program. Before we arrived here, the death rate, especially among babies and children, was very high. Most women have lost multiple babies. Sickness and death are a part of the corruption of creation, and a constant companion to tribal living. Sometimes fighting breaks out in our area, and people get shot with arrows. These guys are deadly with their bows. You would not want to end up on their bad list. For us boys, we've grown up with the reality of death and suffering. We know what it's like. We've seen it. Not too long ago, one of my dad's friends, Arago, got shot in the chest with an arrow. Uncle Tim pulled out the arrow and patched him up, but man, it was pretty bad. Despite such an injury, thankfully he lived to tell the tale. Man, these tribal guys are tough. We were all really thankful Arago didn't die. Sickness, death, and war is the result of the corruption of God's original creation. Anyway, Arago loves to sit on our front porch now with us and talk about the different birds in the area. And he has just recently finished a 6-month literacy class. That to say, he's doing pretty good. It's really cool to be able to make a difference in people's lives, and it's also cool to see how the understanding and trusting in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ has brought about a biblical worldview change among many of the Wanos. We live far from many towns, roads, hospitals, or stores. The only way into our area is by foot, or by helicopter. Thankfully, we have friends with cool toys. The heli is pretty awesome. It can land literally anywhere, from banks of a river to little gorges in the middle of the jungle, places out in the middle of nowhere. The helicopter's been a big part of our lives growing up here. And their pilots, well, they're some of our biggest heroes.
The pilots who serve us here, man, some of the greatest guys on the earth. They've been our lifeline for the last 9 or 10 years that we've been here in Wanaland. They're the ones that bring in our groceries, they're the ones that bring in medicine. Many times they've taken out sick patients, and they've been with us through thick and thin, and many times gotten us out of a tough jam.
For some reason, I really like the helicopter. I don't quite know why, but it's really, really fun. It's a lot different from a plane, and whenever I get on it, I try to sit up front. When I grow up, I would like to be a heli pilot. I don't know for sure, but it's in the top 3 possibilities.
Living out in the middle of the jungle has led us to really rely and trust in God's faithfulness, and He's never let us down. The helicopter is a tool that has taken the gospel to the farthest corners of the earth. Yeah, we've had some sweet rides in that little chopper. Not all aspects of our life are as cool as riding in the helicopter. Some of it's just plain work.
It's a foggy day, the rain's just coming down.
After we moved up to Mokondoma, we began getting started on the airstrip project right away.
We're going down to go check out the airstrip.
The helicopter has served us all these years, but it was time to look to the future and what would be most helpful for the Wano people.
Mokondoma airstrip is 460 meters long from the very top to the bottom.
Our airstrip got a lot of hard work put into it.
This is the big turnaround section. It's still in the making, but it's coming along very well.
Yeah, when we started in the airstrip, it was pretty much a big, boggy, flat space.
One of the challenges of living in the mountains is finding a good flat area for an airstrip. In the rugged mountains, it's really rare to find a good strip site.
Building the airstrip was really hard work. We had to dig out the ditches and put a huge layer of rock and dirt on top, pull out roots. It was a lot of work. Amazingly enough, this was all done by hand tools, such as wheelbarrows, shovels, crowbars, hose. It was pretty incredible.
And so this airstrip's been in the works for about 2 years now. It's nearing completion, and hopefully in a couple months, the first plane will land here.
Sometimes when planes are nearby, they'll buzz us, and that is really fun. The Wano people get real excited.
We hope to knock out this airstrip project and finally see a plane land. That would be the day. Not all of our time is spent outside. In fact, we spend a lot of each day doing school with our mom, who's also our teacher. Homeschool.
Okay, boys, let's get started this morning. We'll start out by praying, okay? What can you tell me that you know about symbiotic relationships?
My mom's a great teacher, and all of us boys really like homeschooling.
Pictured below, barnacles. Educating the boys at home gives me the opportunity to really tailor what they learn. And we have such a great opportunity as teachers, as parents, to impart all this knowledge to our children. And to me, education is just preparing them for the future.
Being homeschooled gives us a flexible schedule.
Truly, God's handiwork in creation is astounding. It is more than just reading, writing, and math. And so when we are going about our day, whether it's school or cooking together or out on a trail together, I know that each step of the way, everything that they're learning is preparing them for the future and for what God has for them.
After school in the afternoons, if the weather is nice and we're feeling like a change of scenery, we often head off into the jungle to explore with our Schroeder slingers.
My brothers and I are avid hunters, and this afternoon we're taking off to get out in the jungle a little bit and hunt with our Schroeder slingers.
Being a good hunter requires skill. You have to be quiet, stealthy, and be a crack shot.
Where's Hudson? Hudson's the best shot of all of us.
My brothers say I'm the best hunter. Yeah, can't really argue with that.
He can smell a bird for miles around.
Really?
What's this?
Yes.
I looks like Hudson found some bird droppings.
It's all dried up, so it means it's probably from 2 hours ago. Still smells fresh.
Sometimes it's fun to joke around when we're out in the jungle hiking and stuff.
The Schroeder Slinger is pretty awesome. It's compact, reliable, and ammo is found in almost any terrain.
You'll never find me without my Schroeder Slinger. It's always ready for action. And I keep my pockets full of ammo.
Doing the laundry for the Wild Brothers is a big job. Oftentimes in Hudson's pockets I find rocks.
He totally does that.
It's really annoying.
Our Schroeder Slinger, the idea came from a friend of my dad's, Dave Schroeder. He was an MK in the Brazilian Amazon jungles, and as a kid he used this exact Schroeder Slinger.
One day Uncle Dave just walked up to me and handed me his Schroeder Slinger. I was really excited about that.
He handed this down to us, and ever since we've been making our own.
It's important to take care of God's creation and not take it for granted. And I keep that in mind when I go out hunting, and I don't kill needlessly. I do it for scientific purposes or for Grandma if she gets hungry.
Grandma loves it when we go hunting and bring her back something for dinner.
Occasionally we're actually successful on a hunt, but most times we aren't. But whether we get something or not, we always have fun enjoying God's creation. The Wano people garden, and their staple food is the mighty sweet potato. However, they eat whatever they can find, including rodents and insects, and some other things I won't mention. And when they get an animal in a trap or from hunting, nothing goes to waste.
Kanok, monidam yu, gayago namok, wakapak.
Pooh has kindly taught us what and what not is edible in the jungle. He often brings us some of his delicacies to taste test. In this case, it's the mushy brain of an echidna.
Ano ma area sago. Nano.
We've given Pooh the chance to taste a lot of our Western foods, and so he knows about oatmeal.
Oh dear, yeah.
Growing up in the jungle has given us the opportunity to try some pretty unusual foods.
I just had a little.
You know, a tiny little bit of normal brain. It was disgusting.
KFC, Kopi, and our chickens were glad to join in on some of the action. Those birds are ravenous. For us, hanging out and trying new things has always been a fun part of village life. Well, another day in the jungle has come to an end. When it gets dark, everyone goes to their huts, and quiet falls on the village. We too head inside and get a fire started for dinner. We often cook on our old wood-burning stove. Puss and Newt are also winding down their day. We close each day thanking the Creator and enjoying a meal together. And then it's off to bed, to sleep hard, and wake up to another day. Our family believes that following Jesus Christ is the ultimate adventure. It's a life filled with purpose, joy, and hope for eternity. So, welcome to our world. The adventure's just begun.